Who's regulated that? That's right. It's a court.
Scoot over next to you, Sarah.
We're nearly, we started this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, so if you wouldn't mind all standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And do we do that now, or do we do that as part of the agenda?
It will be done as part of the agenda. Let's put it under,
Okay, I move that we amend the agenda. All in favor? No discussion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Our next item of business is approval of the minutes from the August 16th, 2023 regular board meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So Matt, will you sign that, so
Yep.
she can have that?
Our next item of business, as amended, is to approve Fairfield and Woods as special counsel.
I move that we approve Fairfield Woods special counsel.
I was done for the public and for the record, that would be for the purpose of assisting with the lawsuit filed by Wolfie Creek Development, Inc. That would be the purpose of the special counsel.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
All in favor? Aye.
Great. Okay, the next item is petition outcome and next steps. So signatures have been verified. I got 21 pages of the 39. At 21 pages, I did 300 verified signatures. So the board, in adherence with discussion at our July meeting, would like to take those next steps as agreed upon at that meeting.
I just want to clarify, when I count up to page 21, that's 240. So it's 31 that got to the previous. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
For clarification.
Yep, we're good.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
it was page 31 that you got.
Yes.
Okay.
So our next steps,
Our next steps, we have gotten a bid to remove the sod and replace it with concrete. Our estimate is $5,000, and we are prepared to move forward. We made a commitment, we're gonna keep that.
Does that have to be ratified or approved by the city of Aurora, or not at all? That meets all of their concerns?
There is the lawsuit out there that has to be dealt with. I can't imagine that they're going to accept, excuse me, object to essentially winning this round at least. But that will be worked out on some level, whether that's attorney to attorney or whether somebody from the council or planning department has to be involved. We will do whatever necessary steps to make sure that they'll let us be doing that as well.
We've been led to believe they're in favor of
have two questions. One, do we only get one bid? It's my understanding we're supposed to have 3 bids for all of that's supposed to be done. That's my first question. Second question is who's gonna pay for it?
Okay, the first question is, in terms of bids, we get multiple bids on anything over $50,000. For smaller amounts, if we have any experience with the contractor and we're comfortable with them, then we can go ahead and engage them.
So it's $5,000, so we should have 3 bids.
50,000.
50,000? Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 5,000 is the bid, 50,000 is really
Okay.
multiple bids.
And then who's gonna pay for it?
50% will be paid by the Metro District and 50% will be paid by Matt West, just like the removal.
And you're gonna provide evidence to the board, to all the people here that that's what happens. That's what I'd like to see.
How would you like that evidence? In the form of
just like
cancel
you did.
checks or what?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay?
Just to be clear, the only evidence we can provide is from the district side.
Well, that's like last time he provided his, what he paid, I'd like to see that as a homeowner, that he actually pays what he says he's gonna pay.
That is up to him. Understood, but me here today can't.
Okay.
I know that the city, would need to inspect underneath to make sure the sewer lines are everything, so, if we help negotiate or get you in contact with the right people, that can be done, correct?
I would be very surprised if they do that, to be perfectly honest, but we'll be in touch with the city, so if that's something they want to do, they can come out and do that.
Perfect. And who's the best contact? And probably Road is okay.
Yes, I am wanting the speed bumps to come back in, and also better signs indicating that this is private property. It's not a thoroughfare, so how do we handle that being done?
I'd like to build on that real quick. I totally agree with you guys. It's a safety hazard going through there, so maybe we should consider speed bumps through all those alleyways.
So
Right.
one of the things, based on discussions at the last several meetings, the board is going to be proposing putting a safety and neighborhood watch committee in place with members from throughout the community, to make recommendations to the board for future action. That may result in speed bumps, it may result in additional signage, it may, result in some actionable items that we can take to the city to get their buy-in on. So it's coming, it's just, we're not ready to pull that trigger quite yet because we want to make sure that we have a scope for the committee that each member of the committee can adhere to. The goal would be each of the alleyways within the parkways that is impacted by this, but then there are also several shared cul-de-sacs that the district owns and maintains that may also need some type of safety.
Some consideration.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my concern is the cost that's already been paid by the Metro District. It appears to me, since this was not a city-approved process, that needs to be reimbursed back to the district. I don't know who's gonna do it, but I think we need to have that reimbursed. Secondly, if we are going to consider speed bumps, we need to consider them in other things, not just in the parkways, but it is a racetrack down Grand Baker, and there need to be speed bumps along that road as well. And again, I wanna be real clear, this was something that should never have been done. It was never approved by anybody other than the members of this board, and somehow the district needs to be made whole on whatever part they played and played in that part of that being put in the first place. It is a violation of law to have done that. And so, you know, we're now being paid over and over again for something that should never have happened. And I hold this board responsible for that. So however they want to make that happen, this district needs to be reimbursed for the cost for the initial and the cost to now put it back, as opposed to that being passed on to us as homeowners who didn't approve of it in the first place. We are not stuck with that kind of an expenditure out of the Metro District funds, which you collect from us, both from taxes and from our $60 a month.
Let me just give you a little bit of education on this. The taxes are strictly paid to the bondholders. They are not a part of our operating budget. So any money that you pay in your taxes goes directly to the bondholders. We don't have any, the only say we have in that is how much, which we're limited in the bond documents, but how much you're taxed each year. We're at the maximum amount. That full amount goes to pay the bond issuer, and the bond debt. We have no other control over that. We have no other usage of that. It does not get expended by us. It is run through a custodian. So first, the taxes are not a part of what we do, other than coming up, we may reduce your tax levy because your valuation has gone up. Other than that, the taxes go to the bond holders and the bond debt. In terms of the operations and maintenance expense, that is the budget we work under. It's typically, in the last couple of years, it's grown to about $1 million. That has grown to that level because of the addition of homes in the community. We have not raised the O&M fees to any existing homeowner. The only way our revenues have gone up is because we've had more homes come in. But we are behind on the bond debt. That's not a function of how the Metro District has been managed. That's a function of how the community was built out by the developer. And the only thing we can do is hope that we get more homes in here to pay that debt on a timely basis. So, I just wanted you to know, bond debt and the taxes that you pay, all that we can do is lower them. We can't spend them, we can only lower them. That's all we can do.
And the other
That
thing,
begs the question.
the other thing, Margaret, is when talking about streets like Grand Baker in Louisiana, those are actually owned and maintained by the city of Aurora, not the district. We can make recommendations to the city to put in additional speed bumps. Other communities have done so with limited success. But really what it takes is a petition. Yes, sir.
If we decide to speed bumps in parkways, alleyways, parkways, HOA needs to be informed, it needs to be discussed.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 2 questions. What is the timeline for replacing it to its former concrete? And then what is the status with working with the city on the lawsuit then?
Lawsuit, there are deadlines that the attorneys have that actually come this week. Hopefully those will all go away as a result of tonight's action, but we are only one side of it, the city controls the other side of that. From there, the discussions will move toward settlement, making the entire thing go away. They will start tomorrow, and they will conclude as efficiently as lawyers can get it done.
And then.
Which means we don't know.
And then in terms of how quickly we can actually get the work done, we want Paul to work with the city's council to make sure that we're proceeding properly. So it could be, we could tell the vendor, you're good to go, but if we get more rain, it may delay things. The goal is to have it done as quickly as possible.
Could we put a time frame on it, like the same 30 days you gave us to sign the petitions? I think 30, you already picked the contractor.
We don't have control
Why
of the
don't you
city.
do it in 30? At least tell us, your plan is to do it by the end of September.
Our plan is to do it as quickly as the city will allow us. we have no incentive to hold back. We've already committed to do it.
Okay, so what are the roadblocks?
The roadblocks of the city.
What might they have a roadblock with?
Well, like Stacy said, if we want to check the sewer, if anybody wants to check the sewer, then we want to get that done so that we don't have to re-dig it up and do it all over again. So make sure that everything's stable underneath and that we're approved to then move forward and don't need, I mean, do you need a permit to put it back to its original state?
We'll be asking all those questions for the proper meetings. Okay. Any more?
I still didn't get an answer for the district being reimbursed for the expenditure to put it in and the expenditure to take it out. That should not be levied onto the homeowner. Okay, if it doesn't, taxes don't play in that, but I've been here for 21 years, I've paid $60 every month, and that's not the way that this board should operate without consideration of the community, and that needs to be reimbursed to the district.
One, I'm not sure who you believe that reimbursement would come from.
You voted to do it.
Everybody can grumble all they want, that accomplishes absolutely nothing. What I said was a factual statement. So I don't have an answer to you as to how that mechanism could possibly happen. And as far as your dissatisfaction with the board's managing of the money, get involved, stay involved, try to be on the board.
Oh, please don't go there. Because we have been involved in this since we moved here in 2001. We have tried many efforts with this board to get them to respond to the needs and the wants of this community, and that has yet to happen. If you want me to give examples, I can. My husband actually submitted an application to be considered as a board member for this with a resume from here to there with all of the experience, and he was not even considered because Mr. West could read a map and got put on this board. The elections have not been done the way in which they should have been done from the beginning. Stop, it's my turn to talk. If you want to rebut that, you do that, but not until I'm finished. So it's really falling on deaf ears for you to say to me to get involved in this community, because I've been involved since the day we moved here, as has my husband. So you can push all of this under the table if you want to. You can do all of that kind of stuff. But the community is frankly fed up with the kinds of decisions that get made here without the involvement of the community.
Yes.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
In our executive committee meeting, I put forth a proposal that we open up the board's activities to include several volunteer groups. And those groups will include a budget committee, a tennis court committee, a pool committee, a landscaping committee, a safety committee, which includes neighborhood watch. Those committees will then all report to the budget committee so that everyone in all those committees knows how the money comes into the community, and how the money goes out of the community, how it's spent, and who's benefited by it and who's not. So, we heard what you said as a community 2 meetings ago. You wanted more involvement? We're gonna open up and ask for participation. How many of you, just a show of hands, how many of you actually went out and solicited signatures for this petition? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, great, yeah, enough for all the committees.
Oh, we'll be here, don't worry.
No, I mean the committees, not just me.
Thank you for adding the committees.
We need participation.
So the problem with the committees you're suggesting is we already have 3 HOAs and a metro district. And in all of what we just went through, trying to get answers answers from our HOA and have checks and balances with it didn't happen. So my fear with you wanting more committees is more stronghold on things that makes it very unclear of where anything comes from. So I just want to throw that out there because I feel like we already have too many different things that separate us in this community. So adding more could add more problems. So I just want to throw that out there.
Well, the intention of this community, of this board, has always been to be inclusive.
It is not.
You may not agree with our positions, you're welcome to that, okay? But we have always tried to include as many people as come to our meetings. Now,
But if that was true, just like she said, if we wanted more speed bumps in our community, we would need a petition, right?
Yeah.
So you never even included the community in petitioning for that said enhancement for the community to begin with.
Yeah.
So the thing is you can add as many community things that you want. Part of the problem, Doug, is you guys being in leadership. In my personal opinion, I personally think you guys both need to resign.
well, there's an election.
So I'm asking you, since we didn't even have an election, a president who was never even elected, even into a board, why don't we have another election? And give us the opportunity for that, because you didn't even do that.
We sent out notice to
Sure. There was an election. Everything that could be done was done, and nobody ran their poll.
It was.
That's the same process. Yes. The process of the election is dictated by law, and the district follows that. There cannot, by law, be another election until May of 2025. So everybody can mark their calendars. February of 2025 is when any of you can submit nomination forms to run for the mayor.
Or maybe we do another petition and do 3 counts.
That is certainly
Where,
possible.
you can't recall an election that didn't take place.
No, we call it.
I wasn't elected at the last election, I was appointed.
Oh my gosh, my whole point.
Recall is available. It's a process that exists and
But
it's
he's saying it's
available.
not, you're saying it is, he's saying it's not.
But that's what we're saying about the same double standards of things.
It's not a double standard, it's
No, it is,
misunderstanding.
Doug, it
It's
is.
my understanding that if there wasn't an election, there isn't a recall.
Well, okay,
That would be a challenge to the election, different from the recall process. The recall process, like the election process, is dictated by law, and everybody has the opportunity to take advantage of it. It's part of local government.
To those that were elected or appointed after the May, when would the oath of office take place after that?
It would have been, no, it would have been the May meeting. Because the election was held the first Tuesday in May, which I believe was May 2nd. And then the oaths of office were then administered at the May meeting. The recording of such would have gone through Paul's office, not mine.
And then, so that wasn't in the May meeting minutes, so that did take place for the foreseeable that were after the election?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it not required for you to notify residents in enough time for people to be able to submit applications or nominations, number one? And number two, to be able to vote? Why was there not a vote? There could have been a vote, and that did not happen. We as homeowners did not get any kind of notice about it.
So the district election process, grabbing something that is put out by the Special District Association of Colorado, it's a board member manual. It basically breaks down statute in layman's terms, for the lack of a better term. And it goes through the election process, including what is required. But because we only had 4 candidates for 5 seats, the election itself was canceled.
Should we be notified of that in time to see if we would have other people who would have been willing to serve? So that there could have been a full legitimate election?
There
of the dates, like she's like, on Facebook, it was posted on the 20th. And everything said it was due by the 24th of February. So literally, if you're saying you posted it to the public, anybody who got their information on Facebook had officially 4 days to do any paperwork if that was the case. And that's it.
Where else was it posted?
So you should have received a letter in.
We didn't.
We did not. Nobody received it.
I didn't know that.
You're not, we already that we weren't properly warned of the, elections, and we are waiting on a response. They've already had a hearing a couple weeks ago, and we have not heard yet, and so that is to be determined, but in all fairness, we did not see, none of, hardly any of the community, I can't say all of us, received a letter, and it was, I believe the date was wrong on the, district website, and the only date that was actually correct was the Facebook website, you know, the day before.
So,
That's problematic.
that it is. Regular district elections, special districts, must hold regular elections on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in May in odd number of years for the purpose of electing directors to the board and as applicable for the submission of other ballot issues or questions. Generally, other ballot issues or questions are, putting in place an operations and maintenance fee or increasing the bond limitations. Those are generally what that is.
I want to ask you, because I know there's other people who are curious too. Doug, how many terms have you served on this board?
I served one term actually, full terms I've served 2.5, almost 2.5 terms. One 4-year term and one 2-year term. Yes, ma'am.
If I could go back to the City of Aurora lawsuit for a second. Sorry, I don't know the law, legal stuff. Is there a chance they are looking for financial compensation from the outcome of the lawsuit? And if so, is that a split between parties? Is that all something to be paid by the district? What does that look like?
Sure. Their complaint contained the word damages, which is money. However, their claims against the district did not tie to any damages. So I think there's an open question as to whether they are seeking money or not. If they were, and if it proceeded to judgment, it would be a judge or a jury that would allocate any potential damages between the parties. I think there's a very small chance that money is actually going to be involved, but in fairness to your question, the word exists, which means I can't absolutely say no.
And
Yeah, damages were awarded. Who pays for those? Do we have an insurance policy in place?
Yes, and insurance, yes, is in place, and I can never commit, I'm sorry that I always have to have a qualification to every answer. It is likely that insurance will cover that. Like with any insurance policy, there are always exceptions.
Right.
If one of those were to apply, then it would be the district itself that would pay for it.
So the district would be us that pay.
And then insurance rate. I'm sorry, I have like 3 questions.
Are those policies on the district website?
The certificate of insurance should be on the district website, if not, I will report you get that there.
Can we get a copy of the policy sent to Alex? Said what you guys are talking about? Thank you.
Can I clarify?
Sure.
So if damages were awarded, we were the losing party, and those damages exceeded the insurance limits, or they were found to be an exception to the insurance, in which case the insurance didn't pay, the district itself would be responsible for those damages.
Absolutely.
Yes, there's no chance it would exceed our policy limits, so the applicable question would be whether it would be an exception to the policy. And if that was true, if damages were awarded against the district, then the district would be obligated to pay those damages.
Or
And-
what
and-
if
and-
exceptions,
and-
if
those-
something illegal was done?
No. much more specific than that.
So and those damages would be spread amongst the homeowners, correct? So let's just say hypothetically it was $1 million that the district had to pay, and $1 million would be broken amongst the 1,200 or 1,300 homeowners.
Well, let's just use a more realistic number.
Just using something for,
It's just
ease
a
of
number.
matter.
It's just a number.
Let's just say it was $100,000, which is 20 times the cost. Okay, say it was $100,000. Then it would be assessed against the district, and we would pay it as a budgetary item.
So it'd come out of our pockets.
Yes. Rochelle?
So I just want to make a comment. One thing I will agree upon with you guys is that this action did get us all going, and we got more information than we ever knew before about what was going on in this room. So for me personally, I will be here every meeting to see what's going on so that I have a say in it. One of the things I want to be considered is you guys came up with an arbitrary number saying that we had a date that this was due that was never spoke of before. So when you're wondering why people are questioning your integrity and what you're doing with the board, it's because you guys are not being honest with us. You come up with roadblocks for people instead of trying to figure things out. It becomes us against you type of thing, and that's partly your fault. And it's because of things like, oh, all of a sudden it's due the 30th. But I'm gonna tell you, because of that, we got our 300 signatures. Because we went out there, we marched in the streets to get people. We're not done. I know personally, I am not done, and we're not done. This neighborhood is amazing. I've been here
There's a
so
lot
many years.
out there that still needs fixing.
There are so many things, and we're wasting money because we have all these lawsuits pending and things that we're paying out of our pockets that we shouldn't have to. And in regards to who should pay, I feel like the back should pay. This is all we If they find us liable and that lawsuit goes against us, Matt is named individually. So is the insurance gonna pay for what Matt owes, or is Matt gonna pay for what Matt owes?
Insurance does not cover that individual.
Well, then we shouldn't either. He should have to pay because he's the one that keeps initiating these actions. He's the one that kept pushing for this, and he should have to pay.
And we can sue you.
Okay,
I'm just letting you know, that's my opinion on
it's
it.
easy to focus on that.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's not. It's been 3 years of it, so it's
No,
not.
no.
None of this would have happened
This
if
whole-
that didn't happen.
This whole board was in favor of doing this.
We were not in favor. That was between you and Matt.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Right, and you've done every one of the 3 efforts he's made
But
on an individual basis. To
Yes,
sue
no
one
concern for
person.
anyone else but him through all of it. I watched it.
Wait. Listen up. One at a time, or we're gonna adjourn this meeting.
It's like, they don't work for us, we work for them.
Right.
Hey, this is not a mob.
It's not, but you guys, you created it. You are the two guys that created it.
Y'all wanted people at the meetings, we're here, respect us. Respect how we feel, we have an opinion too.
I'm asking you to speak one at a time, that's all, okay? Just one at a time, all right. Good. Ginger.
Yes. Let me just tell you all that I will be on my property in the alley, washing my car, sitting out, doing what I want to do on my property. Because
You can't park back there.
that is
You can't park back there.
my
so
property.
Let her finish.
That is my property and my driveway. And also, I am responsible to pay any potholes that occur by all of you driving through a non-road. It is not a road. It is not a road. It is my driveway and my property. So if you have an issue, and you hit me, I will sue you on my property. Oh, I will.
It's been safe up until Matt moved it.
And everybody picked back on him from the board
Yes.
If Matt didn't live there, that alley would have never got touched.
at all.
We've already done that. We've already done this. We've already done this. We've agreed to put the concrete back.
But we don't want it to happen again. We want respect as a community, and we don't want to keep getting threatened by
Or jumping in
gender
front of
or
our
people
car.
harassing us because of stuff. We all agree it could be a safety measure.
Jump in front of
We
my
all
car.
agree that we can allow speed bumps. We all agree we're on the same page. However, with us being on the same page, give us the same respect on that page. We don't need threats from Ginger. We don't need harassment from Matt. We don't need none of that. We want to be equal. We are here as a community, not against y'all. Our money's impacted in this. We pay for this too.
All right, let me hear you. That's why we're moving forward with this. We're gonna move forward as quickly as we can, as quickly as the city will allow. Okay? Nothing will happen out there without community involvement again. That's our commitment. Okay? All right?
One more question.
Wait a minute, Margaret's been waiting,
Gary.
Gary's been waiting.
Margaret first.
Okay, let me just, and I'll ask this of the attorney, and hopefully we'll be able to research this on our own as soon as we have access to a copy of the policy that is ensuring the Metro District at this point. I find it really hard to believe that if our insurance company knew that something unlawful happened,
Right.
and it was at the request of and at the direction of the board of directors, I would be shocked if they would be willing to pay anything for this lawsuit, when in fact I don't know, insurance policies, and people look for every loophole possible not to have to pay. But I can tell you that my belief about insurance is that if you break the law, you then are responsible. And in this case, there was not permission or a permit from the city for this to have happened, which is exactly why the city is now suing Matt, Deborah, and the district, because it was done unlawfully. And I believe they would win in that suit. I don't have any question about that. So is the insurance company aware that this was a unilateral decision made to benefit one person by a board of 4 people or 5 people? That the decision was made and they carried it out and neglecting everyone else in this community who has to pay these bills. So my question is, are you familiar enough with the policy to know if that would not be one of the exceptions that would be made for them not to pay for this?
The insurance company is fully aware. The firm insurance company has engaged, has responded, has already paid money. And am I completely certain that there's not an exception to the insurance policy? I cannot say that sitting here today. That's an insurance company decision. That's frankly not anything that they would want to pay me to research.
Okay, and when you say they were fully apprised of this, you told them that the law was broken in order for them to be able to complete it?
There's been no determination that the law has been broken. They've seen everything the city has alleged and are fully aware of it.
Can the Metro District put on their website a map of the community with designations on the alleyways and the streets as to what's run by the city? Because I know that there were a couple of maps floating around at one time. One put out by the Metro District on Facebook, and one put out by Ms. Dixon as well. And both of them showed the same thing. No pollards were on the map. It did show that the private property lines for everybody going up basically to the middle of the road. It did also show that it was an easement. It did show that it was a public access alleyway. And I do know, I found it once on the Aurora website. I did find it once on the Aurora website, and I can't find it again, but Aurora does define alleyways as a public drive-through. I apologize where you guys live. I know what it's like living in an area that you don't 100% agree with, but you moved in knowing full well that that is a public access. It should have been explained at your closings when you bought your home, exactly what the use of that area was. It's no different than living next to an airport. It's no different. I mean, we live next to Buckley. Those F-16s, F-22s come over. They're loud. Personally, I love it. Former Air Force myself, but you have to put up with stuff like this. You know, we moved into a road that people speed down every single night almost. It's calmed down a little bit more this summer, but last summer it was horrible. You know, I mean, if the Metro District can do its job to help us petition to the city to get, you know, the same kind of speed bumps that are in front of the school, you know, all these straightaways, we need to tone it down. Somebody's gonna get hit. Someone's gonna get killed. No life is worth it.
To answer your question, I think the answer is yes. I think we can put a map on the website,
Yeah.
but that's really Margie's area of expertise.
Right.
So,
If not, I'll get it sent out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking for anything fancy. It doesn't have to be interactive.
okay, then Town Square will have it.
Okay.
It may take me a couple of days, so please, but I have to find it right back.
Yeah, question.
I got a question. Not being funny though, but is some stop signs coming down? Because that is being used to harass people that drive down. And then police hit to my house 2 times talking about, I didn't stop at that stop sign.
The city put the stop signs in, so do you want us to petition the city?
Who's sending the video? We all know who sent the video.
Well, you asked me about the stop sign.
I'm asking how to use the stop sign to do illegal stuff and jump in front of people's cars. And send the police to people's house. Because, you know, I know what I'm doing.
I would like to hear from Matt. Now that you've heard from the community, are you done? Are you ready to hand it over to the community and stop personally trying to figure out that area yourself?
I'm sorry, I'm extremely.
No, you're fine. So I want to hear from you. Now that you've heard from the community, are you willing to partner with the community if there needs like to be a certain solution and not do anything with that area personally yourself?
Absolutely. I like the word partner.
All right, so now, to be very clear,
No, that's right.
clear with us, that's what partners do. Right. You are transparent, and that's all we're asking for, is transparency and fairness.
And I asked with the committee that we talked about, because we're talking about moving forward, right? We're gonna fix this, now we're gonna move forward. So obviously the budget committee can talk about some of these issues as well. Like, hey, this is what's come from this whole situation. How is this gonna work and that kind of thing. But with that, like, how is that gonna work with the board? Are you guys gonna respect all those committees if the feelings are not the same? So if you feel it's a little different, because the board still holds all the decision making, correct? Even if you have committees, you still hold the power of all the decision making. So I wanna hear from you, what is that truly gonna look like? Are you gonna respect each of the committees and the people who are on them?
I view the committees as an opportunity to educate people. So the more educated they are, the better their recommendations are gonna be, the less work I have to do. These are uncompensated positions. So to the degree that I can delegate some of the time to somebody else, I'm tickled to death to have help. We've been up here for 2 years with no help.
Were you here what I encourage the board to think about developing committees is making sure that there is a scope for each committee. For example, you're not gonna have a tennis court committee that comes in and says, okay, we're gonna tear down tennis courts and replace them, because that's not a feasible option. But letting them know, you're gonna put together the scope of work, you can help us interview contractors, my office will still get the bids, and then as a committee, you can make a recommendation to the board as to which vendor to go with. If it's within the budget that the district has, that's how as a manager, I'm envisioning this happening. It's not going to be, the committee says this, we're done. It's more of that partnership where we work together to come up with the right scope of outside of our budgetary means for 2024, we keep it on the table and we make sure that we put that money away, so that in 2025, it may be an option if costs and insurance don't, or not insurance, inflation don't keep going sky high. Yes.
So are these committees the same thing as a law that was just put in place not too long ago to have checks and balances on HOAs and stuff? I believe it started August 1st. Is it going in coordinates to that, or is this completely separate that you guys were thinking on your own? Because that is also something that's going to need to be put in place too.
Yep, so the task force is statewide, it's not individual for each district.
Okay.
The task force is really meant to assist our state legislatures.
So the task force will be one
For the
group
entire state.
that'll look over all of the HOAs
Yes.
and districts. Okay.
Yes.
With the committees, will you have more detailed information, how many people you plan to have on a committee? That they will not all be able to be from one specific area of the community per se? Like, will you have that kind of
Yep.
guardrails and
It's
guidelines?
really- We are in the infant stages of discussing this, but we do want to make sure that, you know, especially talking safety and security as an example, we want at least one homeowner from the parkways. We probably need one homeowner from, you know, the south side of the community, and then somebody from the west side of the community. Or what you live with on a daily basis is different.
Yeah, right.
But it also then, in that same regard, it wouldn't make much sense to have somebody from the town home association be in there, because they own their parking areas and their drive lanes within the town home area. So what they may have input on doesn't impact what the district owns and maintains. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
My question is this, is the district going to do the same as they have in every election, handpick their cronies to be in those positions? You are black, I've never been. I wanna know who is gonna make the decision. If you say that one more time to me. Don't hit me. I didn't touch you. Yes, you did. I did not. If you say that. Officer, I need you to assist with this woman. She is harassing me beyond belief. I am asking. You just hit. I did not hit. Yes, I hit you. You did. Yes, she did.
We're solving again.
Okay, officer.
There are some largely defined processes and procedures by the state statutes that the district has to adhere to. Part of that, and this is something that I will take it on myself to make sure that every homeowner is mailed a letter, not just from the designated election official, letting them know ahead of time as to when the election is and when all the processes are.
We know you're trying to actually be committee.
Oh,
They have to be
committee.
elected. I'm talking about the committee.
I misunderstood.
So, you know, likely, you four or five, I think there are a couple of people are missing, would be deciding who gets to sit on those committees. And that again will be a repeat of what I have seen here for 21 years, right? It is the same people over and over again, and it's who they go around and say, okay, well, you'll be on our side, so we want you, Matt, having lived here for less than a year, against somebody who's lived here for 21 years with a resume that far exceeds Mr. West. So that's, to me, you can play the game with us to say you're gonna make these committees and the community's gonna have a voice, but you control those things and you'll get what you want. And so that is very frustrating to me to think about what committee would I feel that I can offer skills to, because I know I won't be allowed to be committee. I already know that.
Michael.
Yes, I do.
My goal as the district manager, Margaret, is to make sure that everybody has a voice. Ultimately, I don't have a voice. I can make recommendations to the board, and I have. There have been a couple of times where I flat out, and this doesn't apply to this particular situation, I have flat out told the board, I do not feel that this is right for the community. We need to research it more, if it's a committee of 20, and again, spitballing here, sometimes those committees get a little unwieldy. You can't hear your voice through all the other voices, and it may be that we break that up into subcommittees, and that, you know, one part of the committee does research on one thing, another part researches landscaping, for example. Okay, what's the best method for snow removal? What's the best method for annual flowers? What's native? You know, we can break it up, but really my goal in agreeing with the board on this item is to make sure as many voices are being heard in the community as want to speak.
Margaret, we'd love to have you on the committee.
I'll bet you that.
As involved as you are, and knowledgeable as you are, and yet what would it take for her to also get a vote?
She doesn't live in the community.
Okay, that's good. So that piggybacks on my next question. I don't want to get in the way of Stacy, the work you've already done with the potential recall, but let's catastrophize and say nothing can be done, and you guys are the board until 2025. What could be
Some of us are longer than 5.
or longer? What could be done to add a 6th board member for a checks and balances? Like you want to have committee people, but add another person from the community who has voting privileges.
We would want to add 2.
Okay.
And to the degree that we could again spread the workload out among non-paid volunteers.
Right.
That's a pretty attractive.
So how soon could that happen?
That would depend upon how soon that might be required.
And Doug, can I ask you, when you're talking about striking the wealth, so there's 3 of you that hold a position per se, right? And then there's 2 members at large. Why do you hold 2 positions?
Nobody else wanted it. That's what it comes down to.
That's not true.
Doug,
don't know that.
well, on the
board.
On the
when
board.
we talked
So
about
it doesn't leave an
it.
open seat. Because there's 5, even though he's holding 2 positions, it doesn't necessarily mean an open seat.
Correct, and so this is a big thing that I think is something that a lot of people don't understand. You elect board members, the board itself elects its officers. So that's why Doug can hold 2 positions of treasurer and vice president. Now, the one caveat to that is the same person cannot be, is it president and treasurer?
So is Doug, you were running this meeting, are you the president?
Well, 2 things. Okay. Matt has recused himself because of his position in this issue. Number 2, Matt's hard of hearing, so I'm effectively helping run the meeting.
1 second, please. Mike, you had a question?
Well, all of this information that's being discussed is really good, and I think it's enlightened a lot of us as to what's going on and what needs to happen, but
Speak up just a little bit.
this little snowball has really gotten huge rolling down the hill, and I just kind of like to draw it back to, I would like the board's explanation as to why Matt should not be responsible for paying the full cost of what he did. That's all I'm asking. I mean, we're back to the original problem.
I'll address it, because half the property is Metro District property.
But I guess the reason I asked that, the point I'm trying to make is, I don't want to have to pay for somebody else's unlawful action.
This is gonna piss you off, but it has not been determined it was unlawful.
Okay.
There was no permit drawn.
Can I say something, Shannon? At the last meeting, Doug said they did not get permission from the city, so that is admission to an unlawful act.
Yes.
This instance that you keep talking about, half of it is Metro District, and Ginger is sitting over here saying it's half of that is hers and half of it is Matt's. So how does that belong to the district then if it's yours?
I don't think
Did you contribute?
Wait. What are the times?
So the alleyway, on at least county maps, shows that would own about halfway down the alley. But this portion is only as you're approaching, is that Coolidge or is it Coolidge? Coolidge. The district owns a sliver going north.
Okay. So why would the district pay for half of something?
Yeah,
It's not theirs. Why
yeah.
is it not?
Shannon?
Yes, you're.
That portion is not mine. My property, there are little, coin, little things down in the ground. I forget what color, they
Anchors.
used to be like red or something. That is the point of where it is my property, into the concrete in the alley.
Is that just, I'm trying to learn.
Yeah.
Because is it the alley, is it down your driveway and it is there, or does it come on out? Because otherwise,
If you take the end of my white fence and you go straight out to the alley, halfway, there's that little coin in the concrete. So from the end of my fence out to the little coin, that is my property. Then it goes all the way down to the other side of my garage, out the garage door to the alley, and there's the other coin. So that is my property. It is notified right in the concrete in the alley.
So how does that work, then the city has taken this as easement?
It is.
That's the big part, this is easement for cars, gas,
Margaret?
Hey guys, I'm starting to get several conversations.
We were just trying to clear it over here.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate that each of you are trying to learn and better understand why this happened in the first place. We have a few people that have had their hands up. Mike didn't finish, and then I have this gentleman over here.
Well, just real quick, and I understand what she's trying to say about property ownership, but again, it's designated as an easement.
Yes.
And anything that has to be done by the city on an easement, the homeowner is responsible for that cost. And I made the point in the last meeting, the last 8 feet of my yard is an easement, and I was notified of that at closing, but I put my garden in there. Now, if the city has to come through and dig all that up and to do something, I understand that that's gonna be a cost that I have to incur because it isn't an easement.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing, a lot of good stuff, but I'm hearing from the board that, I got, board members gotta have 2 positions, etc. In terms of governance, is there a limit on the number of board members we can have on the Metro District?
So Paul was actually gonna answer that. Go ahead.
When the district was organized by the developer,
Okay,
the developer had the option of either 5 or 7 board members.
okay,
The developer chose 5.
okay,
That is how it has gone ever since going forward.
okay,
There was an earlier question, and to answer your question, this district could choose to raise its representation from 5 to 7. I would guess that would be a 2-month-long process. You'd have to get court approval. I would be shocked if the court would not approve that. But there's a process and it takes some time.
that same
Yes.
process is going to make it 12 members?
No, it can only go 7.
Because the
the only
developer way back who
That's just
got
state
the
law.
burden of paying for everything to the homeowner,
Yeah.
is that, so we gotta live by that?
By state law, the only options you have is either 5 or 7. And the developer chose 5. Those are still the options that you have now. The only caveat, full rooms are great. Full rooms do go away with time. There have been vacancies on the board that have gone unfilled for periods of time. If you expand to 7, that also creates the possibility that there just may be more vacancies down the road. And don't yell at me, it's in the law. Once you're at 7, you cannot go back down. I don't know why, but it's written. So, but that is an option that exists.
To me, that's an okay answer, because it would allow for some legitimate other people being on the board to help involve the community and consider the community's needs and the community's wishes about our community. It's a wonderful community,
We should be very proud of it, but I do think having 2 more people on the board would be helpful to spread that out with a legitimate election, not an appointment, but a legitimate election for everybody on the board.
All right, Margaret, that's enough. Okay?
Do vacancies
Wait,
affect
wait,
the
wait.
quorum?
We have explained that everybody had an opportunity to engage in the election process. Whether you took advantage of it or not, we submitted that information. We're not gonna relitigate it. We're done with that. Let's move on, please.
I think the question was, if you were to move to 7 and there's vacancies, does that affect a quorum? That if you only fill 5 of those, does the quorum go out of 5 or out of 7?
Quorum is always a majority of the then city board members.
The
So
then
if
city
you have
board.
7, the quorum shifts to 4. For purposes of tonight, the quorum is 2. That's kind of a moving target.
Just wanted to check.
But yes, there is, just to be clear, there's lots of things that get thrown out that are 90% accurate. And I have not engaged and debated with all of those, but I want to make sure of clarity. If the board were to decide at its next meeting, they can't do it tonight, it's not on the agenda. If they were to decide at their next meeting to expand to 7, those 2 positions would be filled by appointment. That is the only option possible, because the only election is May of 2025. So, as the community decides whether that's what they want or not, to ask, the decision gets made by the board, there may be a certain sense to making that decision to coincide with the May 2025 election, if there's simply going to be outrage no matter who gets appointed. We don't need to just create more outrage for the sake of outrage.
And the other thing to keep in mind is with the election in May 2025, that process starts to fall before. And by that, I mean, the board has to choose its designated election official. We start all the background processes that homeowners don't see until the ballot or until the call for nomination goes out. So it may be, next summer, if that's the sense of the community, that's when we start talking about, okay, let's put in a resolution to increase the size of the board to 7 at the next election. And then it would be a true election it wouldn't be appointed by the current board, or if the makeup of this board changes, it would then be elected in May of 2020. Yes?
I believe you said there's some costs that change from 5 to 7. Do you have any rough estimate of what those costs are?
Less than $2,000.
That would be.
And part of it, so again, I'm going back to this manual. It does say that, the board may increase the number of board members to 7 by the adoption of a resolution by the board, and a certified copy of the resolution shall be filed with the Board of County Commissioners or governing body of the municipality that approved the service plan of the special district. So for us, City of Aurora. If after 45 days after the filing of the resolution with the governing body, if they have not notified the district of such an increase of the board would be a material modification to the service plan, the board shall file the resolution in district court. So it proceeds. It would, I think the increase in cost would be if the city of Aurora came back to us and said, no, wait, you can't do it.
Hard to imagine they would do that. They would like to see more governments, not less.
Just to bring to your attention, so you want to make sure that everyone feels included and involved in all of that stuff. So when you do the petition, there's some concern in Media Living that they don't feel included in the metro district. So now that we've heard from the last meeting, they are part of our metro district. I think we all need to think as a community, how can we, include them in that to feel like we are one community. It's not just the homes, it's not just the parkways, it's not just the townhomes, it's not just Media Living. Like,
I was gonna bring that up earlier. I was gonna ask, how many live right over here? That are here tonight. I suspect the majority. But, when we're looking at these committees and the makeup, you know, we wanna make sure that we're covering the entire development. It's really important. Some of the issues out there, the top lot that got destroyed, you know, it's not over here, it's in another part. So we wanna make sure the entire development is engaged,
And some of
and
that.
getting their input. You know, that's the biggest value in this, is that you have an ongoing dialogue with the committees. So it's not just these guys up here, you know, I mean, if we get out on the street, Doug walks almost every street in this development every day. The thing with that is that it is a big development, and it'd be great to have, you know, folks from all over that are engaged in this. I think it's be really helpful for everyone.
The petition proved that everybody cares, because those signatures came from one end of the neighborhood to the other. And I remember somebody up there said they were doubting that we could get the signatures, and we got them. So people care in this neighborhood, and they showed it, and they're still showing it, whether they're here or they're not here. People in this neighborhood care about what y'all are doing, and they care about the neighborhood.
I think one of the committees that could be, brought together or created would be a communications committee, because even with the petition, you'd be surprised how people are like, well, I don't have Facebook, I don't even know what's going on over there. And so like, right, going door to door, like the communication's not there. And so if we can increase that, then I think when you do hold an election, people will feel that you did it legitly. Because the communication's gonna be out there, that you set everything out in front of them. And right now, it's just that communication piece is missing. It's missing here, it's missing between the different HOAs that consist in this one community. We still are one community that all the HOAs like to blame each other, point fingers at each other, and not work together, is what we're seeing.
Well, I have to say, being the former president of the HOA townhomes, we didn't blame anyone. We worked with HOAs, so don't say that about all the HOAs.
I'm pretty sure the master, doesn't feel like they're at odds with us.
I don't think, no. Okay, let me rephrase. I don't think that they feel that you're at odds. I don't feel like the community, the boards feel like they're against each other. But like, okay, Parkways and Master is ideal. And Metro is what we're learning. Because Parkways, like my front lawn, we want to talk about property lines. I got my whole front yard was my whole front yard. Well, guess what I just found out today? The dead part of my front yard is the Metro district. How the hell does that work with these property lines? Like, it's ridiculous.
As I said, there's gray.
Yes, there's gray, and it needs to be fixed. So, I guess, not to say the boards feel that way, us as a community feel like it's three separate communities versus everybody working together as one community.
And
That's what I'm saying.
the management portion of that, I try very hard to make sure that if I'm telling a homeowner, hey, that's a master association function, I give them the contact information. And I tell them, I don't have all the information, so I can't provide it to you. Here's Irene's name, and I'm sorry, I don't have a phone number for her, but, Bob actually helped me with an issue earlier where the email address that I had for the town hall manager was off by one letter. I had no idea because I don't hear from her and she doesn't.
Right, and also you and I were the same.
That's kind of the other problem too, as we've been talking about all this with the community. Nobody understands the distinction of the different HOAs in the metro. So when people get frustrated or they're hearing what we're saying, it's, oh yeah, I'm out of that HOA. And we're like, well, no, this is actually going through metro. So I think that there is a serious lack of understanding on all sorts of levels. I have made it very clear on Facebook that I just don't understand why we're not having any kind of communication. The Metro District page alone, there's communication, and I watch every night. I'm seeing that. And finally, there was communication of this meeting well ahead to let everybody know. But prior to this, there has not been communication. You guys have a site there, and yes, not everybody's on Facebook, but you have something you're not even using. And yes, there's Town Square, but again, there's so many different avenues. We need to be
my previous question, we established that 7 by law is the limit of what you can have this board. Now, I would make a request to the current board, as you look at appointing, if you decide to go to 7, from 5 to 7, that you consider diversity. Because this is a diverse community. And we should be governed by a diverse board. So I would ask this current board, please consider diversity. Over half of this community are women, and we have various ethnic groups. I mean, it's not just all you guys don't represent the entire community. We need diversity. Those 2 members, I'm hoping that you could, what?
I will have to say I'm gay, so I'm a gay representative.
Well, I mean, I'm talking
Nice.
but I'm not talking about women. Are there women on this board? Are there folks of color? I mean, please, would you consider that? You have the power, you have the authority. You want to be progressive, you want to move forward, let's
So as you guys talk it over, I guess another question, which we can find, doing it so
I'm sorry.
well, it's Tessa K, I know what Tessa K, either one. Tessa or Tessa K, either way.
Mr. K, what's your last name?
Cameron. So here's my thing, talk to the board, like, if you guys have one of your private election meetings or whatever, well, my other question would
We
be,
can't do anything with that.
oh, see, well, there you go, too. Well, you can do it with us watching. But is anyone, like, not going to fulfill their term, is anyone willing to resign and appoint one new member onto the board for that diversity? That would be a discussion with the 5 of you. I'm not saying one specific person, but is there someone who's like, hey, I'm willing to step down to add a member of diversity onto this board?
Like a female.
Can you speak to that? I talked to 2 board members who said they were asked to be on the board. We don't necessarily want to be on the board, but they were asked by PDOT specifically to be on it, so they are on that obligation.
Just so you know what we're hearing. So we're hearing rumors that 2 board members.
I know, I talked to 2 personally, it's not hers.
There you go. Thanks, Alicia. Thanks for that.
I didn't hear what you said.
She said she's spoken to 2 board members and they were appointed to the board, but they don't really care to be on the board. So that would be an instance. So they're willing to step down so that somebody could be appointed to the board for some diversity on the board. Or you guys would have somebody new.
You have to answer that.
Okay, you'd have to ask them. She's on it.
And I think that's the overtone, I just want to say, that's the way we have the board we have. It's been because 2 individuals have gone out and recruited who they thought would be good on this board as
That's not the
opposed
case,
to.
because I came
I didn't
back.
say you specifically. I
Well,
didn't
don't
say
make
you
it in relation to
Well, 2 out of 5 is pretty big. 2 out of 5 board members is pretty significant. So again, it's about, that has been how this board has operated. Mr. West told me early on in a face-to-face meeting that he didn't think he'd get on the board because of some of the underhanded lies and things that have happened on this board. And went the very next day and got himself appointed by Doug so that we could start. So we could start kowtowing to what Mr. West wants. And that is exactly what is happening. I'm so stop.
We're done with the personal attacks.
I'm not, okay,
We're
stop.
done with the personal attacks.
I've never kowtowed to anyone, so.
I'm only speaking the truth, and if you'd like to see how many people here believe that to be the truth, you're fair, ask for them to raise their hands.
I'll raise my hand, I believe it.
Thanks for stopping in.
The next board meeting's coming up in a couple weeks. Yes. Because obviously we're not getting anywhere. We're all in agreement, they're gonna fix it. Let's see how these committees break out. Let's see what happens from here. This is where you show your cards from this point forward. You're gonna fix the thing. You wanna show us that you're back, you wanna do a partnership with us? Great, let's move forward. Let's see this partnership happen. Let's see you listen to members of the community. You know, and I have to say, hopefully the committees, you guys are gonna move pretty quickly to at least put them together so that we feel you are partnering with us. Because I can tell you, if you sit on it and say, we'll put the committees together in January, I'm gonna call your BS and say, I don't believe you. But do I believe right now you guys are sincere? Great. You wanna move forward? Matt said he wants to move forward. Let's move forward with this. Next board meeting, can we talk about the grass? Because not all the sprinklers are fixed. There is lots of dead grass.
I know, I
I don't.
So, and I talked about the walks, like I said, you guys go out, you walk the whole community. Why have we let it get this bad? That's where I'm at this point. Why have we let it get to this point that the grass had to completely die for us to revive it? That costs even more money. Number two, the tot lots. Number three, the community has complained about this pool through and through, so I would love for that to be on the agenda as well, so we can do that.
Couple of things.
Yes.
I'll just fill you in. I've heard from our playground vendor that I use, has not been in the community before, today. He was out here, he's like, you can't get parts for your top lots, I'm sending you a proposal to completely replace them.
Nice.
So, there's that.
The one in Mississippi Circle is gorgeous.
Regarding the pool, I actually made the recommendation to the board this afternoon that we not continue to use the current pool vendor.
Yes, thank you.
So, the other thing so our next board meeting is scheduled for September 20th. The district board meeting is generally, and I say generally because I'm getting ready to throw you a caveat, the third Wednesday of the month at 6 p.m. October will either be the 11th or the 25th for the simple reason that this board is accommodating my schedule because my husband is actually running for school board in my little town, Strasburg, and that's meet the candidate night. I know you all have
Well, a lot of us will be on fall break too with little, so. Yeah.
so it was important for me to be there, and this board said, absolutely, we get you, let's move it. So, just a heads up, as soon as I figure out the date, looking like the 25th, although Mr. Bob can't attend, we'll send out an announcement in Town Square, and I'll also send out our next email. So, yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to say something. My name is Don Gordon. I wanted to say something to Ginger. Ginger, you don't know me, I don't think, but I'm Don, I'm your neighbor. And Matt, I want to say something to you. I'm going to promise to both of you, I mean, this has gone on for 3 years. Approximately 3 years, can you hear me?
Yeah, 2.5.
Okay, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It feels longer.
On the board.
But I'm gonna promise to you that you put a lot into this. It means a lot. And I am going to respect what both of you have done. And I am going to personally make an effort to not drive through your alleyway. Okay? And I would ask that we all, if you don't need to drive through that alley, don't drive through the alley. Okay? It's your own conscience, do what you want. But there's a but. There's a but. But I have to tell you that the two of you and your significant others and the board have put this neighborhood through hell for 3 years.
Whoa, don't speak for us.
Okay, and it's just things like you've made us side with the city of Aurora instead of our own board. We had to get a hold of Channel 7 News. We had to get a hold of Channel 9 News to fight you. You're supposed to be on our side, not your side. I respect what you're asking, and you have my promise.
So why don't you call 9 News?
You did.
You guys didn't like them.
You got
So
I didn't call
Well, somebody did.
Yeah,
You were on
somebody in
it.
this group did.
So,
You're out in front of the camera.
all right. So I think you're going to get what you want, but I think what we want, because you caused a lot of aggravation. The signature signing for a month, trying to get everybody standing out and trying to get signatures and people knocking on doors. And the other thing, Corey and Twilight, you gotta stand up for a second. What you did, they had an emergency situation. The ambulance, the fire truck, they couldn't get to their loved one on July 1st. They had a medical emergency at their house. And what you did was it was a life and death situation because of what you did. You just didn't do it the right way. That is it. You just didn't do it the right way. So I told you what I'm gonna do. I think at this point, everybody in this room, including the two of you and the board, I think we want a sincere apology from you. We want an apology because I'm not hearing that you feel like you did something wrong. You did a lot wrong.
The ambulance was able to go over the grass
They
and
could-
not.
they-
Waiting on them to get to my home, and they could not. And in the meeting before last, I voiced it. Not one time did anyone take consideration and say they were sorry for the inconvenience. Not no one. You just sit here and talk about your property line. So get it right. They could not get through there.
So that's it. So again, I think we deserve an apology, and don't just go through the motions because we got 300 signatures. You have to have some heartfelt what you did to the community.
But what about those that are on that side of the community that don't show up here, that read things on Facebook, on and on, that have been here 20 years, and have sat back and watched a group of people tear apart a neighborhood? You want to talk about safety and issues? Try and drive on Coolidge.
We live on Coolidge.
We live there.
Actually.
1,100 blocks.
It's the average.
Yeah. And there's no problem. I mean, a fire truck couldn't get there.
So the problem for you is that it's so comfortable that you live all the way where you do. And you
No,
haven't had to deal with the drama until you came and you thought it was so funny when you came to that meeting. So I'm gonna tell you that you should have said nothing.
No, what I'm saying is, I can't believe it's all so one-sided. You're all in the neighborhood, and
We've
you.
been harassed. I've been
And
pulled
Don-
over by the police
Yes.
because
Yes,
of
I know.
someone
I see.
sending a video. So don't tell us how to minimize how we feel about the situation. Try getting pulled over and profiled because my neighbor is always reporting me, the girl with the purple car. That's what I'm labeled as in my community. It's not fair to me. Then my
And you
loved
guys
ones
are
can't
not
get
fair.
help. No, you have to understand. 3 years of this bull. 3 years of it. Not one,
I
not
had
2,
20
but
years
3.
of it.
So don't discredit what we've been going through. Please don't.
I've listened to you now for 3. Do we need the first graders to come over here and teach us all how to raise him? I have sat
Don't
here
try to
and
disrespect
raised
me.
my
I'm
hand
educated, honey.
for an hour and a half.
Okay. I want to make a statement. I've only been on this board for,
Do you even live over here?
I've only been on, sir,
Where at?
1100 block.
sir.
1100 block.
I've only been on this board for a year.
Oh,
And only the last 3 months that people showed up for me, except for a few people. So it hasn't been going on for 3 years. So I've lived different lives. I will say that I am sorry for the pain I'm putting through. I didn't hear from the community.
Thank you.
And I made a mistake in the judgment that I made.
Thank you.
You know, to continue on where Bob left off. As far as the decisions we made as the board, we are, you know, truly invested in this community and safety. However, I believe that we handled it poorly from a communication standpoint, not engaging more. Yeah, I will apologize for that, because I'm president of the board. I should have been on the street, going door to door. So for that, I do owe you all an apology.
I just want to say something to you, saying that this was our first time coming to this meeting. It has been very frustrating since COVID has hit. The majority of our meetings were online, and we actually felt like we didn't have a voice because we had to give our questions in, and we were chosen on what we were going to be asked. So to be fair, that was the first meeting that we were able to have in person in 3 years almost. So it's not fair to come at everyone and say that we don't show up when we were trying to show up during COVID, and we had very heated discussions, even online during COVID, at that time with board members who then decided to not be on the board for their own reasons. But at the same time, we have felt that we've been silenced this whole time. So I just want to keep putting this out there, that don't say that we haven't shown up, because we have tried in our own ways, but COVID has happened, and that was the first in-person board meeting we have had in almost 3 years. So I just want to put that out there.
I have no experience with that.
And so I just want to explain to you, that's part of the reason why nobody has been here.
COVID was frustrating.
Exactly.
Okay, we have two more questions, or two more comments. This lady in the white shirt here.
And going back to all this, was there ever a traffic study done on how many cars were cutting through the alley? I'm just curious, was a number put out there that 300,000 cars are going through every day, and this is why we need this? Or is it just angry people who feel that it's a raceway?
Yeah, I've got video cameras on my house, one in the back, you know, looking.
Let him finish.
Like the city puts the things down.
And then I have a camera placed in front. Where the drive comes down there. And on general, they would average between 115 and 140 a day. And that's only for people who don't live there. I know who doesn't, you know, and I see the terms they make. That's just simply the ones that are using the shortcut. That's it. I know that, Candace said that it can't be that. Well, you live at the other end of the lawn. You don't quite see them all. And I got videotape of all of them. It's okay. The real point was, you know, actually to make it safe for the people who live on that piece of driveway. My house is, my garage doesn't come out there. I mean, I just want to say that. As far as, you know, back to what Don was saying. Yeah, we could have handled things differently, absolutely. And as far as, you know, people engaging and attending these meetings, I think Don, you know, he gets the gold star. He's on almost every one of those meetings, even through COVID. Some of the others, you know, because we can see their participants and who they are on the Zoom meetings. You know, we're only averaging between 2 and tops 12 people that weren't on the board. And generally it was in the 2-5 range. It's not a bad thing. It's just, I appreciate where we're at today with everybody engaging. I'm hoping we can keep that up. The board has already talked, you know, we'd like to get these committees up so we can be, they'll be engaged in the budget process. You know, allocating funding for the things that these committees come up with. But that's really important, and we'd like it to happen this year. So, that's it. Oh, and, I don't mean to say this out in public, but I did ask, when we had an opening, I asked Don to be on the board. I don't know that. I did. He's still, breaking rocks, as I call it. I still work every day. But his schedule, he just couldn't fit it in. And I understood that. So.
Gary?
Yeah, you said that, the stop signs were put in by the city. I'm just curious as to why they're only on that one street and they're not, I don't think, are they even on the one that tees? I don't think it's at the end of the one that tees or any else in the parkway, because when a city does stuff, it's, what's good for one is good for all. It's usually doesn't, well, but then again, when they do that kind of stuff, there's always a traffic study associated with it, and I don't think that there was a traffic study done.
I don't think there was a traffic study done either.
No,
Yeah.
there's not.
Because we hear rumors and stuff like that, and I've heard that, it was put in by, Matt, and it's like, they look fairly official, so I doubt that highly, so, but.
I sit on planning and zoning and I see all the traffic studies that come through the city.
But the city said it was put there because Matt put the speed bump to establish that is the continuance of Cooley service.
That may be.
Why they put a
I
stop
don't know why
on
they
in
did
the
it.
corner. I talked to the city. That's what they said.
Well, not to burst your bubble, but if you talk to 3 different people at the city, you get 3 different stories.
Well,
I know you guys consider the city liars, but he said he talked to him, so that should be the truth. If you want to be believed, then believe the city.
Yeah, they didn't have no
You're
reason
calling
to
him a
believe
liar and you're calling
No,
the city a liar.
I'm not calling you a liar.
Sure sounded like it.
We've had multiple discussions with the city and we've gotten multiple.
We had the same stuff.
You're working with the city, there are multiple departments, and when they come to planning and zoning, they don't talk to each other. So one department will say one thing, one department will say the other.
So I think as we wrap up this discussion, I'm going to say thank you to each of you for coming, for voicing your concerns. And believe it or not, the board appreciates them when they're constructive. But the one thing, at least from my outsider's perspective, I wish I had each one of your passion, whether one side of the aisle or the other, in my little town. So,
They're grown.
I shouldn't even say town. So, for those of you that don't know, and I live in Strasburg, so
It's
35 miles down I-70.
Right.
We're unincorporated out of county.
For now, we used to be unincorporated Aurora, so good luck.
But as a longtime HOA and Metro District manager, to have recurring meetings of more than 10 people in attendance that aren't the board, this is exciting for me, and I hope that each one of you understands that I'm not gonna speak for the board, I want to harness your passion for your community. And I say that because, believe it or not, you're the eyes and ears. If I don't hear from one of you and it doesn't cross their purview, I don't know about it, because I don't live here. Do I drive through about twice a week? Yep. But that's literally me driving my little red car around. And I may not see something that you see at 7 p.m. every day.
By the way, when she's driving through, she's not doing compliance checks.
I don't want that.
That's Irene.
Now you're a car dealer,
We'll find you down.
But, I have regular conversations with Don. He's really good about saying, hey, I'm seeing an issue here. Can you put me in touch with Carlos? Had an email this afternoon, probably from you, about the grass on Duquesne. And
That or Angela.
they sent me pictures, and it was one of those areas where it's gray, because I'm out there when the irrigation's coming on, so I don't know who's watering it.
What I think Angela is I'm sending you a map, because we did one today, and that was very defined. She has a black and white of like, this is Parkways, this is Metro. how do we get a master map put together for this community? Outside of even the Carpet, and in general, everywhere, that says that, hey, this is the city of Aurora, hey, this is Metro District, hey, this is.
One of the asks, and so I'm gonna go through, and unfortunately, the maps that we have, they're good, but because of the size, they're very difficult to read. So it may be that I do a couple of different maps, like zones, like we focus on the west side, and then we do parkways, and then we do everything south of Louisiana, so that there's some ease of reading.
And, you know, I think we did think to have like a master map here in Colorado.
I have one more question for you, Shannon, and it has to do with our fees every month or every year. So we've changed companies multiple times, almost every year it feels like. Is there a way for you guys to log our bank information for us that gets directly withdrawn, so we don't have to get charged penalties for things that we don't even know is happening?
By law. And I say that because we cannot keep, as a management company, if we switch even accounting software, that's one thing because it's staying within our walls. If it's, like when Goodwin and company bought Cherry Creek, they couldn't take any of that stored information in our old accounting system and carry it forward. You as a homeowner would have to re-sign up.
So do you think by the end of this year into the next year, we're gonna be looking at a new company or?
Not unless the board decides to make a decision. That
I don't think new companies, we just wanna stay for
We just made a blanket statement on behalf of the board. We're not going anywhere as long as Shannon's where she is.
Right.
And I appreciate that. So I know several of you interfaced with Jennifer and found her lacking. As Jennifer's supervisor, I actually went to the board and said, hey, how do you think she's doing? And they're like, we need to make sure. I'm like, okay, on that. And I'm still even finding things that she didn't do 5 minutes ago. And y'all have probably figured out if you corresponded with me directly, if I don't respond within a couple of days, something's up. Just because it's not who I am, it's not how I'm wired, and my family needs it. Y'all have figured that out, but Dawn has said, you know, why are you, I think you actually sent me an email, why are you responding to this email at 2 a.m.? Because I couldn't sleep.
Why are you responding to
Well, I saw that timestamp.
But really, if you see something, and I'm gonna go back to the old Chinese phrase, if you see something that you think is odd, call me, send me an email. You can put a message in Town Square, because believe it or not, I actually do look at that daily. And once I got over the probably 20 hours of trying to clean up somebody else's mess, it's been pretty smooth sailing. But I depend on you guys to be eyes and ears.
We're trying.
And again, going back to this, I appreciate your enthusiasm and your passion for your community. I wish everybody saw the world this way. I think we'd be in a much better place.
And I'll have to say, I appreciate you all too. When I was president of homeowners of townhomes, we asked for new board members, and for 2 years, we didn't get any, and I was the last board member standing, so it takes a lot to get people involved, and I thank you all for being here.
When you look at the map, I have a question, I mean, one of those things, because I would do. The Parkways is just over here. Mississippi has an alleyway. What property is that?
Yeah, you know, that's one of those great questions. That, and I know this sounds like a broken record, but when the developer drew up the plats, they set those out differently than they did the parkways. And they set up the parkways so that they could sell to a different marketplace. They set up the parkways so they could sell to people that wanted to have a yard but didn't want to work in the yard, that wanted to have somebody else remove the snow from them, from their sidewalks. And that's appealing to a certain segment of the violation. So that's how they structured it, and that's why they did it that way.
Which is interesting, because today, like, when I look at my land, if Metro owns that part of the sidewalk, Metro is the one that's gonna have to clean up, like, the beginning of my walkway. Parkway's only has to do like some stairs, like, it's not, when you say it, it sounds enticing, but when you look at a map, it does not line up.
Show me what's your address?
Oh, do I wanna give that to you?
Only a couple blocks away, I'll probably answer
Mine's 1352. So I sit on the top of the circle. What we were explaining today is that Metro has the middle part in between the sidewalks. But then, no, Duquesne, sorry. And so, but then Metro owns part of the actual lawn in the front of our houses before our properties actually start. So it's very interesting how that, yeah, how that goes.
So I sit on planning and zoning, and I see a lot of new development, especially in this area. I have to say the developer is the one who sets up the Metro District, Parkway, townhome. And it's not the Metro District that sets it up.
Yeah.
So you don't have control over that process.
Oh, no.
And just so people understand it.
Yeah. I just think that's why there's a lot of people who get upset and don't know. Things like that, because you don't know who's who. Like, this is Parkway, and then Parkway comes back and, no, this is not, you know what I'm saying? There's just a miscommunication again that doesn't line up, which explains why a lot of our communities is frustrated with each other, because they're like, who's supposed to hear this? Why not they were? And then you contact that person, you contact, you know what I'm saying? It's a very.
And that's the problem with having a master district, master HOA, all of these.
All the stuff,
small-
yeah.
That's why I said it's going to be an issue of having more committees. That's my concern, because it's already frustrating, right, when we have all these different issues. I'm not against it, I was just throwing it out there.
The purpose of the committees is to share information collectively.
Right, that's why I
So
wanted
that-
more clarification.
Yeah, so we're not trying to divide and conquer.
No, that's what I was saying, but it's already hard to get clarity, so that's what we're talking about. Is
What if we have someone from those different HOAs on our committees, that helps.